Hey, what's up guys, TechTine here and I'm back again with a brand new video. If you're new around here, don't be a stranger, go ahead and leave a thumbs up. Also make sure you're subscribed to the channel. With that being said, the Galaxy S23 FE has been out for about 4 months now, and I have been using it on and off, mainly just so I can see what has changed. So here's what I feel like has changed in the Galaxy S23 FE 4 months later. We're going to cover a little bit about the design, the camera, the specs, the performance, and the display. But the biggest change so far has been the update that I've recently received, which is Android 14. And thumbs up for Samsung because they've been rolling out this update not only on the S23 FE but on their other devices. If you guys want to see like a separate video on what's new with Android 14 on Galaxy devices, let me know, I'll make that happen. But mainly my favorite feature so far has been the kind of notification center, I would call it. So you get a lot of options and they're really nicely organized and you have them all in your face and you can edit them the way you like, so that's a thumbs up. You can also have your screen recorder, you can look up other devices, you have DeX, which is kind of Samsung's way of docking the phone up and then using it as like almost a Windows-like device. And yeah, so the way that the notification center looks is really clean. It has this transparent material, so that's nice. And yeah, that's my favorite feature with the Android 14. Like I said, if you guys want to see a full video, let me know. And obviously when it comes to the performance, we'll cover that in the performance aspect. But the design of this phone has been obviously the same, but basically here's what I like about it. One is that it feels premium in the hand. It gives you that, I would say, S24 vibe, or even S standard S23 vibe, so that's nice. The only thing that I'm really not a big fan of is this kind of glossy glass material. One, it catches fingerprints. Two, it is really slippery. And also one of the things that I want to mention is that because these sides are made entirely out of metal, it adds this also premium feel, even though it makes this phone a little bit heavy. So there are things that are pro, but at the same time a con. So metal sides, but heavier device, which I can live with. It's not that dramatically heavy. As far as your power button and your volume up and down, also made out of metal. And also the bottom, there's no headphone jack with this phone, even though the A15, believe it or not, still has the headphone jack. But you do get the bottom facing speaker, which is really loud, your 25-watt really fast charging, and this phone does support wireless charging, so that's thumbs up. Like I said, the camera does give you a triple camera setup. We will definitely cover that later on, but that's basically the design of the phone. The biggest pro for me is the premium materials that have been used, but at the same time the biggest con is the glass does catch a lot of fingerprints and the glossy material makes this phone a little bit slippery. So I want to talk a little bit about my favorite thing about this phone, which is the display itself. So Samsung did not skimp out on this display. It's this really good AMOLED screen that is 1080p, so not quite 2K or even a 4K screen, which is more than fine, trust me. So it's an AMOLED screen that gets up to 1000 nits of peak brightness, 120 Hz refresh rate, the whole deal, right? Now, if I were to nitpick and say that I have a problem with this display, and trust me, that's really nitpicking, is the fact that the bezels on here, believe it or not, are slightly bigger than the Galaxy A54 5G. So that's interesting to say the least, but that's just something that I wanted to mention because there's not a lot of things that I hate about the display. This was the only one that I can find. Yeah, so you also get an in-display fingerprint that is fairly reliable and quick at times. And when it comes to, watching videos, browsing the web, going through social media, this is definitely going to be a really good experience. So I haven't really had any issues with this display at all, right? 120 Hz refresh rate, really bright outdoors, and just gets the job done in every aspect. No bleeding so far, so that's a thumbs up. I know it's only been 4 months, so I shouldn't really experience any AMOLED bleeding or anything like that. Okay, so moving on real quick to the performance aspect of this phone. So the main thing that I want to mention on performance is that there's a slight improvement, and really it's stupid slight when it comes to the performance just because of the new Android update, and it's really silly, but basically you do get the Snapdragon 888 processor, a nice size of RAM, and 128GB of storage. And performance so far has not slowed down 4 months later. So thumbs up for Samsung for doing that. So the optimization here seems to be really good. As far as the performance improvement with the new Android update, here are the charts. So if you look at the Geekbench score before the update, then you'll see that the kind of single core score here would be 1711 and a multi-core score of 4102, which again just falls under the Snapdragon 888 processor. And that's definitely a good performing processor. But like I said, new update, here's the improvement. They're really slight. So when it comes to the single core, there's only like a 1% improvement, and the multi-core has almost 4% improvement. So 1730 and 4275 for the multi-core. And performance hasn't really slowed down. One of the things that not a lot of people mention about this phone's performance is that it does support ray tracing. Now, obviously, not a lot of apps support it yet, but when they do, you're going to see a difference when it comes to gaming. So keep that in mind if you're interested in purchasing this phone. And there has not been really any heating issues or anything like that. My biggest downside, the battery on this phone is smaller than the A54. So, and I think they said because it's the wireless charging coils that could not fit a 5000 milliamp hour battery, so they put in a smaller battery. Not to say that the battery life is not really that good or anything like that. The battery life has been really good on this phone. And I feel like that's because of mainly optimization between the processor and the Android and Samsung. So that's good on the user's end. Obviously, a bigger battery would have, or basically the same size battery as the A54 or even the Galaxy A15 would have been nice. So that's basically my biggest downside when it comes to the performance, which is the lower capacity battery life. It didn't bother me at all, but that's just what I could find 4 months later. Alright, so the camera system on here, you get a triple camera setup with a main sensor, a ultra wide, and a macro sensor. A full in-depth camera review will be in the description below if you want to check it out. But basically the story behind this camera is that it takes some really nice shots, and mainly they're saturated. Just if you're looking for, I would say, more natural looks, then this is not going to be the camera for you. You can tweak around with the pro settings, but just right out the box, if you're just trying to take pictures, this phone will give you kind of these saturated, bright pictures, vibrant and colorful for the most part. They're not going to be, like I said, real life, but they're really good looking pictures. And the video capability, this phone does support 4K video recording and even 8K, which is a flex that not a lot of people are going to use because, one, it's going to kill your storage. That's for sure. And I would say you're not going to have the display to even kind of take advantage of this 8K recording. So it's just a flex thing that Samsung wanted to do. But yeah, that's the story behind the camera. Now, my final conclusion on this phone 4 months later is that this has been an enjoyable experience. The biggest thing for me is that MSRP of this phone is $599, which is, it may seem like a lot, but you do get a lot of things going for it. I would say the ideal price for this phone would be $450, but this phone does a good job in balancing out all the features from the camera to the display to the performance. So you would not go wrong if you want to pick up this phone. So yeah, that's been my 4 months review. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure you leave a thumbs up. Also, I want to hear the user's experience. So if you guys have the S23 or even the A54 or even the A15 or any Samsung device, what do you think of this phone? Do you think that it's worth upgrading to? Or if you have it, how do you feel about it? So let me know in the comments below. I really appreciate you all watching, and I will definitely catch you guys in the next one. Thank you all for watching.